Episode number 13. What we should learn from Lori Harvey is making a case. Let's get it. What up, YouTube? Hey, young world. The world is yours. What y'all know about that? Hey, I'm back once again. Your boy, Dr. Jacob Isom, author, educator, speaker, and entrepreneur. Back with another episode of Making the Case. Hey, we episode 13. We 13 episodes in, baby. We almost we halfway through season 1. So, hey, if you ain't caught on, you better catch on. All right. So, once again, it's making a case for those of you that knew. Making the case is where we take a topic or a question and we break it down with research, and I make my case for whether something is or isn't what it needs to be. All right. We have two channel norms. One, we don't attack people, we attack points. And two, we don't do all the cussing and derogatory remarks. We leave that for other people. All right. Now, with me saying that, I have to say this because today's topic is what we should learn from Lori Harvey. Now, even though I'm bringing up somebody's name, and I typically don't do that because I'm not about bashing people, and that's not what we're going to do on this episode. The reason why I'm using her name as an example is because celebrities have let's say, a habit of putting themselves out there for the world to consume and to talk about, right? So I do believe that it's fair game, just like it's fair game for me to be criticized or people to say what they want, being that I'm on YouTube and I'm making videos. And so it's fair game, right? Now, I would just ask that you wouldn't be, you know, derogatory and, things of that nature. But, people are going to be people, right? So, of course, on this video, I'm not going to slander or say anything bad about Lori Harvey. I don't know the lady, okay? But I am going to talk about things that I've witnessed and we have exhibit publicly from her, all right? Which I believe is fair game, all right? So, let's get into my opening statement. Now, why do I say there are things we should learn from Lori Harvey? Now, Lori Harvey represents modern women. She represents what a lot of young women would like to be: young, beautiful, with a lot of money, right? So, even with just those three traits, right? A lot of people look up to her. A lot of people, will buy her makeup line and, look at her on Instagram and envy her. And we could say even hate on her, right? That's what happens when you're young, beautiful, and you have money. People hate on you, okay? But that's not the purpose for this video. The purpose for this video is to show you how the idea of a modern woman gets exemplified, particularly when you have people that's raising you or telling you that you are up on this pedestal, right? And of course, we know that person is Steve Harvey. Once again, I am mentioning names, which I typically don't do, so you have to forgive me. But you know, her father figure, because of course it's not a real father, definitely has pumped into her certain types of ideas of how a woman should be treated, even though the way she moves out here is not ideal, right? But she's young, so she feel like she's on the top of the world. Okay, so that idea that you know a beautiful woman, right, has a lot of leverage, has a lot of power due to her attractiveness. We know women are born with their value. Men have to create their value. Now, Harvey understand this, and most, if not all, beautiful women understand this. Okay, they get invited to mansion party, yachts, and things, flown on private jets and things of that nature because they're beautiful. All right. Men don't share these same experiences, especially when they're young. All right. They have to get older and they have to actually make the money so they can have the private jet. All right. So we're going to look at three pieces of evidence for why I believe that, or I should say, what we've learned from how Lori Harvey been conducting herself out in public. All right. So let's get into our first piece of evidence. So my piece of evidence number one from what we can learn from Lori Harvey is women are the prize, right? So if you watch any Lori Harvey interviews, you can hear her say that she is the prize or women are the prize. Now, you would never hear any woman who says this to articulate why they are the prize, right? Really think about this. Of course, she get that nonsense from her father or stepfather, however you want to look at it, but that's neither here nor there. So I would love to hear why women are the prize, right? How can women be the prize when a lot of them are saying that they don't even want to go 50-50 with a man? They want to be taken care of. They want all their bills to be taken care of 100%. Well, to me, whoever is paying for everything 100% is the prize, right? They want chivalry, right? They want doors open. They get into clubs for free. Like I mentioned just before. Well, they get invited to lavish parties and on private jets and things of that nature, right? So are they the prize because they get special treatment? Now, once again, this is determined based on how pretty you are. We understand that. We know pretty privilege is real, right? So I'm still confused of how women are the prize, right? Please explain it to me. Now, I do have an article that actually asks that very question, which this platform, let me get to it. It's, of course, my favorite platform, the Medium. Okay. Please check it out. They have some amazing articles, man. And the title of this article is Who Are the Prize Between Men and Women? So the writer, which is Lindo Shandu, attempts to tackle this question. All right. So let's get into it. So it said, who are the prize between men and women? The answer is very simple, but it's not what you think it is. All right. So let's read on, shall we? Typical female argument. I've seen a lot of modern women on the internet giving one and the same response to the question. Who are the prize between men and women? They obviously admit and confident that they are the prize, but the more interesting the part is when they elaborate. I have to hear this. They all think the reason they are the prize is because they got the PUSSY, which makes them the gatekeepers of sex, including a relationship and marriage. I completely agree with the relationship and marriage part. Typically, a woman is the one who gives the go ahead to both, and without her go ahead, there would be no relationship or marriage. Now, I do agree with that. Typically, they do say they are the prize because they have their female part. But if you look at the opposite of that, what women are really saying is the penis is not looked as important as the vagina. Okay. We're just going to use those terms because they're biological terms. All right. So there's even a difference between genitalia, right? But that's always been the case, like unspoken, right? Indirectly. Now, we don't talk about it, but there is a mentality that women have. I've experienced before, and I'm pretty sure most of you have, as men, experienced this before. They literally believe that they are better than you or they are the prize because of their genitalia. Now, ridiculous, right? But a lot of people believe this. Let's keep going. The part that leaves me rather disappointed is the fact that a lot of these model women seem to be reducing their value and self-worth to their private parts. Just because you have a vagina, that makes you the prize? That doesn't make any sense to me. Me either. It's like sex is the only thing that they can bring to the table. A lot of men and women out there believe so. It's such a shame. And the trippy part is the fact that they'll be like, don't look at me just for sex or more than that. But then they'll use their sexual body part in order to say why they're important. Cognitive dissonance. You see how it all wraps. To me, the type of woman who has nothing else to bring to the table but sex is the type of woman that sells herself short. Yes, she's a human being with feelings, and she probably has her reason for prostituting herself. But let's face it, if you only date or sleep with men for money and an upgraded lifestyle, that's no different from prostitution. I agree. If the only thing you care about in a man is a bank balance, don't get shocked when the only thing that every man you associate yourself with is your private parts. And a lot of women are going through that. And they wonder why they can't keep a man. There is no shock. How about you bring, for example, some business ideas, emotional support, emotional intelligence, loyalty, respect, femininity, humor, and spirituality to the relationship? We love that. I've also seen men on the internet argue that women are born with value while men build their value. I get into how men build their value a bit later. Basically, what they mean is the women are born beautiful and at around ages between 19 and 25. They are often at the peak of their physical beauty and fertility. I just got through speaking about that. These are the time when a gorgeous, young, and fertile woman has men eating out of the palm of her hand. She has 100% of their attention just for existing and being beautiful. They being approach her left, right, and center and flood her DMs on social media platforms such as Instagram. Now, that is the reason why I'm using Lori Harvey as an example, right? Like, this is bigger than Lori Harvey, right? But what she represents is young, beautiful, with money, and in certain circles where she can parade herself around and she can get a lot of men attention. A lot of men want her. And so what she don't understand is that she's a female and she's relatively young, but that youth is going to run out. And when you parade yourself around these circles and you've been with so many different men, you develop a reputation. And it's not the same as men. That is a double standard. We understand that. Let's get it to typical male argument. Like I said, there are men out there who believe that women are born with value since physical attraction is in their DNA, which then becomes their ticket to a fancy lifestyle. These are the type of men who have been exposed to the type of women who leech off of male validation using their body. If you've been dating toxic women, you will have a toxic mindset towards women in general and then become a toxic intimate partner in your future relationships. I suspect that's what happened to those podcast guys. They've been hurt a lot in the past. I would say it's some truth in that, but I'll also say it's a truth into a lot of what men are saying. My channel in general, I try to bring to you information, right? So a lot of what I'm giving to you is somebody else's opinion and somebody else's research as well as mine, right? But most of it is backed up with scientific data, with statistics, right? So you can argue with me if you want to, but I can give you the facts. It is what it is. As for men who build their value, they argue that they are the prize, not women. Now, how does a man build his value since he is not born with it? I'll tell you in a minute. From what I've seen on the internet, it seems like the end goal for men when building their value is to have women eating out the palm of their hand. And by that, I mean getting tons of vagina. There's men out there who transform themselves to become more attractive to women. How beta is that? Now, I don't think that's beta. I think that men understand when they're young, women pass over them, particularly if they're young and they don't have money. Now, do some men want to build their value up and their money up so they can get women? Yes, but I think it's fair, right? So if it's fair on one hand from a beautiful, attractive woman to get all this attention to get everything paid for, if that's fair, it's fair for a man to gain his value and then get to women. That's fair. Men often build their value from the ground up and invest in physical fitness, skincare, career or business, personal development. On the other side of the fence, these men come out financially stable, material abundance to show for it, physically fit, more attractive, more intelligent, more self-aware. This is how men become more desirable to women, and unlike women, men's value increases with age. That's why most women are attracted to older men. This is true. These are not my words. I'm simply paraphrasing the words of some of the self-proclaimed alpha males I've seen on YouTube. Please note that I do not claim that all men who transform themselves do it for the wrong reasons. I'm glad he clarified that. There are men who simply do it for their own betterment. These are the high-value men. They often attract equally high-value women. Now, I will argue they don't attract high-value women, okay? High-value women is not about money. It's about character. High-value men is more about status, prestige, yes, money, but it's also about business acumen and things of that nature. My standpoint, to me, the one who is the prize had nothing to do with gender. If someone does everything they can to be successful, be it financial and material prosperity, fitness, physical health, emotional and mental health, and or spiritual health while also becoming a better human being, this person me is the prize. I agree with him somewhat, right? And here's the somewhat part, right? Well, typically the reason why the man is the prize because the man is the one that have to lay down his life, who has to provide, protect. He has to do most of the physical labor. When we see men out here, they're doing the hard jobs, right? So to me, the male species is the prize because they do everything to keep this infrastructure and this civilization running. Not saying that women are not important in that cause. We understand that they are, right? They give life, they support children, they support men, etc., right? But everybody has different roles. But if somebody responsible for the lights and for the sewage and everything that we need in order to survive, I would say they just a tad bit, a little bit more important, just a little bit. All right. I'm gonna go on down. Actually, that's all I want to read. So, who is the prize? In my opinion, is the men. Uh, because I haven't heard of even in this argument that he's trying to make. He didn't make a compelling argument of why it really are women, nor do women do. I already told you why I believe men are the prize, because they are the one that's keeping this infrastructure going, right? But the mindset that a lot of modern women have, including Lori Harvey, and it just goes out into the atmosphere for a lot of women, is that they genuinely feel like they are the prize and that they should be put on the pedestal because unfortunately men have put a lot of women on the pedestal, and a lot of times it's due to their beauty. All right. Let's get to the second piece of evidence. So my second piece of evidence is of why, or I should say, what I've learned from watching Lori Harvey is hypergamy, right? For those of you that's not familiar with hypergamy, actually, this article that I have for you is going to define it for you. So I'll wait until we get into the article. But in Lori Harvey's case, I would say it's not that necessarily she's hypergamous because she does come from money and has money of her own, but it is hypergamy in the sense that she goes after men that she knows well off, and I imagine they have a better career than she does, and they probably do make more money than she does, right? It might be more of a status thing for her than the money thing, right? Because she makes her own money. So naturally, a lot of women want a man that makes more money than them, that has more status than them, etc., right? It's in their DNA. So this whole notion of hypergamy has been around for a very long time. A lot of women don't even know that they're doing it, but yet it's still entrenched inside to want somebody that's even better looking at them, better in almost every aspect, right? So I have this article from Women's Health. I think it's their online platform. I believe they have a physical magazine, if I'm not mistaken. And the title of this article is Hypergamy is an age-old relationship practice that's still relevant to this day. And it absolutely is. All right. So let's get into it. Let's scroll on down. Loves a hypergamous hero. Take, for example, Vivian Ward, Carrie Bradshaw, most recent, Daphne Bridgerton. But it's not just adult fare. Scores of Disney movies sold the idea to a whole generation of young women that their happy endings were contingent on wooing and wedding, not just any man, but a prince. But even as society has become more egalitarian, with women rejecting the antiquated ideas of previous generations, outnumbering their male counterparts on college campus and in convocational halls, and leaning into everything from side hustles to C-suites, many single ladies still desire a hypergamous parent, which is the reason why a lot of women who are making a lot of money are still single, right? It's due to hypergamy, right? They want a man that's on their level or better, typically better, right? But he got to at least be on there in her mind, right? He has to make just amount of much money, and he also got to fit those. He got to be a certain height. Okay, he got to have a certain amount of money. So there's other criteria he got to fit too. Wait, what exactly is hypergamy? By the strictest definition, hypergamy is the act or practice of courting or marrying a person of a higher socioeconomic or social class than oneself. Translation, dating or marrying up. Hypergamy as a means of upward social mobility for women is nothing new. In fact, the practice has been around for as long as women and men have engaged each other in the social intertwinings that have evolved into modern day dating and marriage. The phenomenon of women seeking partners of higher financial means or status to achieve primarily economic security but also upward social mobility has been around for centuries, said Dr. Natasha Sherman, founder of the 8-Hour Therapy Program and author of the Kindness Journal. For the better part of human history, women simply didn't have the option, access, or legal rights in many, if not most places in the world, to have agency over their own welfare to create financial independence. So they relied on a good marriage to secure their and their children's overall prosperity and prospects. Despite the advances women have made over the last 50 to 100 years, Sharma continued, there is still an element of this phenomenon, whether it's conscious or subconscious, that exists for people today. I think it is conscious in the mind of well-to-do women and subconscious in the mind of women in the lower tier. All right, just my opinion. Women may no longer need hypergamy relationships, but they still seek them out. While the practice is age-old, hypergamy has become something of a buzzy social trend with everyone from self-proclaimed YouTube gurus to Instagram influencers extolling its advantages. In a May 2020 YouTube live stream titled Men Should Pay for Everything, Women Should Be Hypergamous, racking up almost 400,000 views, self-proclaimed lifestyle coach and dating guru Kevin Savage Campbell asked, ladies, do you want to be required to have to work in order to pay significant bills? A steady stream of no's flooded in. Unabashedly, hypergamous women tend to get a bad rap and often seen as exploitative and unambitious. They are labeled gold diggers and perceived as materialistic and shallow, but the truth is that women across all social strata seek out hypergamy to some degree, which I agree with. And I don't think women are being gold diggers for wanting a man of a certain status, right? It's just that if you're going to seek out and get that man of that status, you have to understand what comes with it, right? So it's a lot of other women that's seeking that man out, and you have to understand that, okay? So you're going to get your money's worth, all right, if you're able to land that man. But the problem is a lot of women can't keep a man like that. And there's several factors that I won't get into it now. We can definitely do that in another video. In fact, let me skip that part. In fact, even as women earn more university degrees than men, they are still 93% more likely to marry men with higher incomes. That's a crazy stat. According to a 2016 study conducted by the University of British Columbia. And though higher income don't necessarily equate to a higher social class, financial security is one of the main drivers of female hypergamy. This may be an extraordinary call back to the prehistoric woman's need for a capable provider. There are inherited tendencies for some women to be attracted to men who have more means, which goes back to our roots as hunters and gatherers. Similarly, there are inherited tendencies for some men to feel attracted to women who appear more fertile, wide hips, long hair, no charmer. That said, we're the only species who has a capacity to be constantly aware of these tendencies, and we have moved beyond these as primary drivers for mating in today's more modern world. So there are definitely biological ramifications for hypergamy, and while men seek out certain women, that's why typically you do see men who seek out women on the more bustier side, thicker side, and that's due to the fact that they see those women as producing children, right? Be able to handle childbirth, even though we know women, slimmer women can too, right? But biologically, we're prone to that, right? So let's see if I want to go over anything else in this. The conflict of ideas around women's advancement and hypergamy is undeniable, but it's important to acknowledge its patriarchal roots and how they continue to play into modern dating and marrying practice. While hypergamy is no longer a necessity, we still live in a patriarchal society that largely devalues women. I don't agree with that. In the United States, for example, women are typically paid 82. Now, let me stop. No, this person didn't use the wage gap. The wage gap has been debunked. Umpteens, no, they didn't. And that's where I'm going to stop. See, I should have known that there's an agenda to this. There is no wage gap. Women aren't devalued by men. Women are devaluing themselves and each other. Now, do you have men out there that are very derogatory and saying things? Yes. But in large part, men protect women. We're protectors. So, yes, hypergamy exists. And I don't think a lot of men have an issue with it. But the issue is you got to understand if you want them, a lot of other women want them. And you're going to have to deal with that. And you're going to have to deal with the fact that you might not be the only one. But you won't go get the man that will treat you and be your only one. He don't make enough money for you. He don't look as good for you. He don't have the status you really want. Let's get into our final piece of evidence. All right, let's get to my third piece of evidence of what I feel like we can learn from a situation like Lori Harvey. And it's quite simply female sexual promiscuity, right? I think that there's no secret that a lot of men are repulsed by women who have a bunch of sexual partners. Now, I will say this though, men who typically do not get sex the way they want to will sleep with anything they can. All right. For those men who kind of get their pick of their litter, it repulses them, right? For most men, because it is most men who just aren't out here having sex like a lot of people think they are, they will sleep with anything. That's why they subscribe to OnlyFans. That's why they go to strip clubs all the time. That's why they pay prostitutes, right? So we understand that sex is a commodity. But women have to understand that sex is also part of their value, right? Because we understand that women can actually get a sexual partner. They can get 10 a day if they want to, or even more, right? It's easy for women to get sex, right? It's very hard for men to get sex. So if something is real easy, then if we look at you as an easy woman, that means that you don't have much morals to yourself, you don't have much discipline, etc. Right? So female promiscuity, sexual promiscuity, is a huge issue because even if you didn't sleep with all these men that we see Lori Harvey dating, which of course, come on, it's still the notion or idea that she did. Okay. Perception can be reality. We understand this, right? So this is one thing that we definitely learn from a situation of seeing Lori Harvey out here with all these different men. All right. So I have an article from a platform called The Conversation. I believe that I've seen this platform before, and the title of the article is Data Should Smash the Biological Myth of Promiscuous Males and Sexually Coy Females. So this article actually, I don't want to say goes against my argument, but it just brings some facts about what we feel about women being non-sexual and men being the sexual creature, right? That males are naturally promiscuous while females are coy and choosy is a widely held belief. Even many scientists, including some biologists, psychologists, and anthropologists, tout that this notion when interviewed by the media about almost any aspect of male-female differences, including human beings. In fact, certain human behaviors such as rape, marital infidelity, and some form of domestic abuse have been portrayed as adaptive traits that evolve because males are promiscuous while females are sexually reluctant. And actually, speaking on that, the church actually ordained like whorehouses and things of that nature just so men couldn't. That's a whole nother story. These ideas, which are pervasive in Western culture, also have served as the cornerstone for the evolutionary study of sexual selection, sex differences, and sex roles among animals. Only recently have some scientists fortified with modern data begun to question their underlying assumptions and the resulting paradigm. It all comes down to sperm and eggs. These simple assumptions are based in part on the differences in size and presumed energy costs of producing sperm versus eggs, a concept that we biologists call ansonomy. Charles Darwin was the first to allude to ansonomy as a possible explanation for male-female differences in sexual behavior. His brief mention was ultimately expanded by others into the idea that because males produce millions of cheap sperm, they can mate with many different females without incurring a biological cost. Conversely, female produce rarely few expensive nutrient-containing eggs. They should be highly selective and mate only with one best male. He, of course, would provide more than enough sperm to fertilize all the female eggs. In 1948, Angus Bateman, a botanist who never again published in this area, was the first to test Darwin's prediction about sexual selection and male-female sexual behavior. He set up a series of breeding experiments using several inbreed strains of fruit flies with different mutations as markers. He placed equal number of males and females in laboratory flasks and allowed them to mate for several days. Then he counted their adult offspring using inherited mutation markers to infer how many individuals each fly had mated with and how much variation there was in mating success. One of Bateman's most important conclusions was that male reproductive success, as measured by offspring produced, increases linearly with his number of mates, but female reproduction success peaks after she mates with only one male. Moreover, Bateman alleged that this was a near universal characteristic of all sexually reproducing species. In 1972, theoretical biologist Robert Trivers highlighted Bateman's work when he formulated the theory of parental investment. He argued that sperm are so cheap, low investment, that males evolved to abandon their mate and indiscriminately seek other females for mating. Female investment is so much greater, expensive that females guardedly mate monogamously and stay behind to take care of the young. Now, that's interesting because, of course, you understand that men can impregnate 100 women if they want to, because they could just move to person to person. But a woman, of course, can only have baby every 9 months, but then you give her a couple months for the body to heal. So you pretty much talking about one baby a year, right? So that does speak to why women were particularly want to be monogamous. Most women are saying they want a relationship and they just want one partner, is because, well, it's the emotional attachment, but then it's also the biological attachment as well. In other words, females evolved to choose males prudently and mate with only one superior male. Males evolved to mate indiscriminately with as many females as possible. Truly believe that this pattern is true for the great majority of sexual species. The problem is modern data simply don't support most of Bateman and Trivers' prediction assumptions, but that didn't stop Bateman from influencing evolutionary thought for decades. Well, I think the reason is more social, right? With social media, with the feminist movement, with the whole idea, the sexual revolution, right? Because women are naturally still going to want to be with one man, but the fact that they want to experiment and they want to be able to have that power over men because they understand using sex is powerful against men because men go crazy over it, right? I think that plays a part in it too. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I want to read anything else to you. I thought it was the conclusion that I wanted to read. Oh, yeah, let me read this to you. Seeing what society leads you to expect. So if close observation will have disproved this promiscuous male sexually court female myth in the animal world at least, why didn't scientists see what was in front of their eyes? Bateman's and Trivers' ideas had their origin in Darwin writing, which were greatly influenced by the cultural beliefs of the Victorian era. Victorian social attitude and science were closely intertwined. The common belief was that males and females were radically different. Moreover, attitudes about Victorian women influenced beliefs about non-human females. Male was considered to be active, combative, more variable, and more involved and complex. Female were deemed to be passive, nurturing, less variable, with arrested development equal to that of a child. Now, to be honest with you, I still actually agree with that, right? True women were expected to be pure, submissive to men, sexually restrained, and uninterested in sex. And this representation was seamlessly applied to female animals. And that's because women, or men, I should say, prefer women who are more subtle, right? Who are not out there, who are not loud and boastful, and who are not out there sleeping with. It's what men are attracted to. Just like women are attracted to a dominant male leadership, etc. Right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And you know what? That's kind of all I want to read to you. So the whole idea that this article is trying to put out there is that, well, women can be sexually promiscuous too. Yeah, but at what cost? Right? So yeah, it's true, but men still don't like sexually promiscuous women. Never have, never will, right? So we see the advents of OnlyFans and women being online and selling their bodies and stuff like that. But those women have a hard time having long-term relationships. Yes, they can get short-term situations because men understand what they can do to them sexually. But as far as long-term, it's going to be very hard. Now, will some women get long-term situations? Absolutely. But it would be those type of men that woman would respect in a long-term situation. All right. So let's get into our closing remarks. shall we? What have we learned for watching Lori Harvey and women, modern women like her? Well, one, we've learned that women are naturally hypergamous. Women want men that are better than them in almost every sense. Even though you do have those women out there who want to be financially well off more than men are, so they can dictate and control the situation because they do not want to be submissive. They do not want to be under the leadership of a man. You do have those women out there like that, those uber successful women, right? They got to control and dictate everything. I've experienced those women. All right. We've also learned that, well, women, how do I want to put this? Women wants to make sure that they are able to play the field. Now, and I don't think it's always about being sexually active, right? But they want to be able to have the same option that men do, right? But we understand that a lot of times those women are sexually active, right? Because if you're dealing with a certain caliber of men, sex is required. Let's just be honest, right? So the whole notion that you'll be able to kind of hop from man to man and you're not sleeping with most of them is kind of ridiculous, right? So, but it does go back to the control and the power factor, as I mentioned in the previous video. And then the fact that the mentality that women feel like they are the prize, right? Even though, like I said, they can't articulate themselves or why they are the prize. And I think a lot of it, as the article stated, they feel like they are a prize because of their sexual body part, right? They control access to sex. So they're the prize because they have to agree yes in order for you to get it, which I understand it. But to say that you're the prize because of that, it just totally defies the whole notion of why women put on dating profiles or when they're dating you is that, well, I don't want to hook up. I don't want this to just be about sex. I don't want a situation shit. Yet you'll say you're the prize because of it. Do you see how that don't make sense? Okay. So we got to be realistic, right? So women have to understand that it's okay to be hypergamous, but understand what comes with it. Now, you can think you're the prize, but if you're going to be the prize, well, you have to show the actions. Well, won't you start paying for some dates and vacations? Won't you start opening some doors? And then we could talk about you being the prize. All right. And I'm sorry, ladies, you just can't get around it. You can't do what men do. Men, yes, historically have been known for being sexually active and promiscuous, but that's a small tier of men, though. Most men are not getting sex like that. Okay. Research from the dating apps and showed this. So you just got to be realistic. And I think this video right here piggybacks on my last video about having realistic dating expectations, right? So the whole mentality of modern women, such as Lori Harvey and a lot of other women following suit, is some things you're gonna have to change. That's why we see the divorce rate the way it is, even though it's a little bit over 40. But the amount of single people, which I believe is over 50%, is just crazy. The highest it's ever been in recorded history. Okay. And it's a reason for that. All right. We're going to end today's video, man. Hope you got some good information and some good insight. All right. As always, please subscribe. Please comment. I want to hear you. If you have any topic suggestions that you would like for me to make the case on, please put it in the comments. All right. I'm going to have the links for the merch, the books, of course, in the description. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right. As always, I'm you, you are me. Love always, love eternal. Remember, the worst thing you could do is lie to yourself. And I believe we just that case, baby. Deuces. We out.